So thank you guys so much for joining me today.
Thanks for inviting us.
Thank you. Yeah.
What are you guys doing in Berlin? You're supposed to be here in lockdown with us.
So Kerim lives in Berlin.
I live here.
This is where he was born.
I was born here, grew up here, and I had to deal with some familial issues, so I had to be here.
Yeah. So I am based in Norway at the moment. I'm doing a master's program in Norway, and so Kerim was experiencing familial issues and was like, yo, homie, I need you to come and hold space with me for like 9 days. And I came for like 9 days, and the 9 days extended because flights just stopped going up. It was in a matter of a week, our lives just changed, and our fates were like made for us. So I was here visiting him to come and support and hold space, and now that's just turned into an extension of our creationship. Now I'm just here.
It seems like things happen very spur of the moment for you two, because I mean, legend has it, you guys had only met for 2 weeks before you decided we're gonna be a group.
Yeah.
And now you had decided to go visit for 9 days, and now you're starting. So are there things that you guys are learning about each other that you're like, I don't know if I want to stick around for 9 more days?
It's like this.
Yeah.
And
what does that mean?
Well, it's like creating space and then life doing this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the I don't know, there's like a pool almost.
Yeah. There is a pool. And this has to be a written interview. How is she gonna write this?
Claps his hands real loud.
I will explain to the podcast listeners as well that was when Kerim was hitting his hands together to signify the smashing together that the universe has basically conspired to have happen, right?
That's essentially what it is. You've put it so brilliantly.
I mean, almost like I'm a writer or something.
You'd swear. Yeah,
so,
you're definitely into doing that.
So your first single from this debut album was Mother Time, right?
Yeah.
And I think for people who live in what is a Western gaze, right, in this English world, they think, no, isn't it Father Time, right? And it seems to be like this subverting of what is the norm and also what is a gender norm. So did the title come first, or did you guys make the song and then go, it should be called Mother Time?
Like, when I wrote that, I drew a lot of inspiration from Indaba My Children, and Credo Mutwa talks about Mother Time, who then evolves into a queen of music. And it's Credo Mutwa actually who talks about the nothingness far worse than nothing. And so he, this masculine figure, inspired or like honors this mother of time, this goddess, this creator of life. So I was just also honoring the mythologies that celebrate feminine energy. And I've never heard of Father Time. I've heard of Father God and Lord, but not subscribing to that world at all. Never have. And I'm like, about the Mother Time for sure.
Yeah. I think Father Time even has like an hourglass and like some other weapon or something.
It's just like what father has an hourglass shape? There's no hourglass.
Oh no, not his body. His body's
I know. I'm just being silly.
Although that would be interesting. There are men with hips and, an hourglass shape. So.
But then I think that's somewhat of like a femme Father Time. That's like a balanced human who's like part feminine, part masculine. And I think that's. I'm just like spitballing here. Please don't quote me, although you will, because this is going to be shared.
I didn't know that was your inspiration. And one of the things I jotted down was about the distinction between the nothingness and the nothing, because it seems like they are distinct. Am I correct in saying that?
A nothingness far worse than nothing. It's like the nothing that you think you see before you, just like, you know, darkness has so much life beyond it. If you go deeper, then the nothing becomes a nothingness, I guess. I guess it's like black and then blackness, or all the sorts of nesses that we're trying to negotiate and understand in this earthly experience.
Yeah. So then where does the song come from? Like, how does it come to you?
Like, what's my songwriting process?
This particular song.
This particular song. I guess it came from writing and expanding on Credo's words, getting inspired by Credo's intention, which is also some sort of like reflection of ancestral experiences in a way. I feel like he opens up a portal in his words and in his work for me to engage with the histories of my ancestors in a way. And so it's like a connection to that portal. And then I come to Kerim and then I'm like, hey, can I share these words with you? And then he's like, yeah, can I share these sonic beds with you? And then he makes it, and then then the song is born like that. And there's so many different versions of this particular song that we've done and we still continue to do. So it's never the way it is on the album.
Yeah. So it's a little like,
again, the clap
happens.
The clap returns.
Oh, that sounds so wrong, but
the claps persist. The claps, the ancestral claps at the
So for people who don't understand isiXhosa, what is yogo yogo?
It's like golden, it's embellishments, it's inheritance, it's about looking beautiful. So Ngandili yogo yogo, it's like I'm adorned in embellishments, I'm adorned in goodness, but at the same time it's like dragging me down, it's heavy, like yeah
that's so hectic.
It is. And it is hectic. I don't know what else to say.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking you about that, because I always find it interesting how I, as a listener, think about the songs according to how the language changes, if at all. So initially, the idea of mother time for me was like this creator who demands to be heard. But then like the lines are kind of blurred because you change the language. And then when you sing Ndinjenje Mumama, it almost feels like the creator time and the human mother are conspiring together. I know that's very convoluted, but do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I do definitely believe in Mother God and the creator of our lives. I mean, I guess like they collaborate with your dad, but the this holder of you, the being who holds you and nourishes you and makes sure that you enter this world alive, is your mother. And there is definitely like a God creator energy that a mother cultivates, you know, when you're growing in them, and continues to honor in her life as she raises you, as she protects you, as you know, she's tied to you. And so there's definitely this honoring of the weight of mothering, and honoring the omnipotence of being a mother in the same way like a god creates life.
Do you think about language in the way that I've just described, like how things can be interpreted in a much deeper way, just because you changed the language.
Yeah, yeah. I think words are just they're just like points, and it hits your ear, but that you have a whole other process that connects your ear, what you hear, to your subconscious mind, and feeding your conscious sort of reaction or response to what's being said. So I really believe that the words that are presented are always going to be open to interpretation, as you as the listener can go wherever you're called to go when you hear that. So yeah, there's always many things happening at the same time.
Yeah.
For me when I'm writing, for me when I'm as a listener too. What do you think?
I think, I mean, I think the changing of languages definitely opens different access points for different people at different times.
Yeah.
It also speaks to particularly you, to Gugu's heritage, and like just the way she communicates,
yeah,
communes, and commute.
All the comms, all of them.
All the comms.
And I think languages also inherently bring out different aspects of humanness, or different aspects of existence. Just in, like, I think like different languages focus on different things differently.
Yeah,
It's like when you speak a different language, you become a different person almost, slightly.
Yeah,
like your character like is accentuated differently. And you think differently. So yeah.
Yeah, I want to go back to something that Gugu said about the creationship. So she comes with these words, and then you add all the sounds, right? So when she comes to you with the words, particularly on this album, was there a soundscape that you were like, I don't know what to do with those words?
A soundscape that reflects the I don't know what to do with these words.
No, so when she came with the words to you, was there a time you thought, I don't know what to do with these words, and then the song came to you?
That's a good question. I don't recall feeling particularly stuck. I mean, there was a song, Uveni was a bit hard on us, but I don't that particular question with like were the words feel like too challenging, or what do you mean by like these words coming to me and me not being able to?
I think it's like it's been more like how it usually happens is maybe I've got these narratives written down, and then I arrive and we're having an improv, and then I'll try fit words in. So not every process is like, oh, Karim, I've got a poem, let's try make words for it. Sometimes it's like, okay, we're gonna have a jam session, and then I'm gonna try and slip words and chants into whatever we create from that moment. Because when we improvise, it's like based on the day and based on where our energy's at and based on what we've been listening to. There's like many things that create that inform the sonic beds. And so sometimes it'll be me doing a chant, looping a chant, and then we build off of that. Or sometimes Kareem is like he's playing a drum, he makes a drum loop, or he makes a guitar loop, or I make an Ohadi loop maybe. So it's being born out of different places. And then I kind of have to slot the words in, slot words into whatever we make. And sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes, this should just stay a written poem. I'm not gonna sing this. And other times,
like in Mother Tongue, I mean, there's a part that remained being a poem. But I think there are two main approaches that crystallized somehow. I think there's this one approach that quite often comes with the Wadi, where Gugu will come play a pattern and have a melody in mind already, or words and a melody. So it's kind of a complete song already. Like there's the rhythm, there's the harmony in the bass line of the bow, and there is the singing voice, the lead vocals, and the words. And then sometimes it's really it just develops out of me playing around with sounds, and then Gugu finding finding access.
Yeah.
Sound.
You were saying there was a song that was a little bit challenging. I think you said it was Uveni.
Yeah, Uveni, yeah.
So why was it challenging?
Because we had so many different versions of it, and it was so hard. Yeah.
We had so many different versions of it, and sometimes the Owadi tuning was different to the way we'd rehearsed it or like played it before. So now it's like, whoa, I'm harmonizing it differently to when I did it before. And so the guitar's doing something different, and then it surprises us, and we're just like, whoa, this is new.
Which usually isn't a problem with songs, because it usually happens with most things, but with Uveni somehow, I think, because it's such a clear song in a sense, like I think it's like, you know, it's very easily placeable, like within Xhosa, like you know, song heritage, like the harmonies and the way, you know, and so for me it's kind of always been like either it felt too much like
traditional,
in that tradition, or like too out there and like that didn't make any sense anymore.
Didn't honor the song's character. Yeah.
So then can you guys call yourselves a duo? Because it sounds to me like there's the two of you, and then there's wherever the instruments want to go.
Yeah, sometimes we're just vessels. So what did you say?
I said the instruments are then part of the band, like they are their own entity.
Yeah, they are somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the loops themselves, like the machines also, like, because sometimes like during performances or even in recordings, misunderstandings happen, or like not misunderstandings, but things just happen. Like I happen to loop Gugu in a place where maybe she didn't necessarily want to be looped, or she wants to be looped and then it doesn't happen, and then it happens later.
Yeah.
Or like I'm picking up an instrument because there's a variety of instruments and it's maybe slightly out of tune, or the bow is in a different tuning, and then we just make do with it, and then obviously it's somehow everything just changes.
Okay.
And
so then so then you're no longer a nomadic future folk duo, you are a group. That's it.
Yeah, it's so funny. We were talking about this the other day, and like we were just reconfiguring things and just being like, hey, where are we now as artists? Where are we now as dumama and kechou? And you know, looking at the roles we've both occupied in this project this far. And Kareem was like, yeah, it's different because, you know, usually you'd be a singer-songwriter and then you would go to a band and the band would have parts. And if your bassist can't come to a specific gig, you can always just get another bassist. But this is not like, oh, I've got instrumentalists. I've got lots of instruments, like I have a band, but like my band is one person.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not really replaceable, the sounds that come out of there and the energy that comes out of what we do together.
Yeah. I'm going to piggyback on the energy thing, because I feel like with your album, more than with most albums that I've listened to this year, I've just been, I guess, driven by the energy of the songs, even beyond the lyrics of the songs. And I was thinking about where Mother Time feels personal, like even if it's the Divine Mother, it feels like a personal connection. A song like Wesi Walking Mama feels like a collective lens on the mother of the nation. Is that making sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So is that what the intention behind the song was?
It's hard to say. Like that song, there's been so many versions of it. I wrote it first with my sister who plays the piano, and we were just like messing around with her like as a duo like years ago, like maybe 5-6 years ago. And at the time, it was just because we were surrounded by single mothers who were essentially carrying babies on their backs alone and doing the most. We were completely taken by that. Our grandmothers were also single mothers. And so it does become personal, but it also becomes about just motherhood in the context of South Africa, and what like the legacy left behind by absent fathers, and what that does. And sometimes it's like maternal energy taking care of children that they haven't even birthed, but that maternalness is just responsible and feels like, you know, I'm walking this endless road. I don't know when it ends, but this being on my back needs to be taken care of. And it's also definitely then, you know, as time moved on, I started to come into contact with more and more examples like this. And of course, Umamwini's death and all of the revelations that happened about her presence and the erasure of her power, and really what she was carrying, you know, feeds into that. So the intention is always evolving, I think, and people's interpretations and what's happening socioculturally and psychospiritually feeds into that intention, and it becomes a collective intention then, I think.
Yeah. I also like the way that you use the tone of your voice on that song in particular, because the way that you sing the lyrics, to me anyway, sounds like someone who is tired. Like they're not going to stop, but they're tired, and, you know, they feel like they're going to give up. And then adding the Mama Winnie's speech about fainting in interrogation, and that was the only relief that she would have, almost feels like the other side of the coin. Like you feel like you're going to give up, but here's the subliminal message that you shouldn't. What was the reason behind adding the speech?
It just made a lot of sense. It just felt like, yeah, you're right, I am tired. I think, do you feel tired? Do you feel tired as a Black creative woman? You know, with responsibilities and sixth and seventh and eighth senses, and, you know, generational baggage that you're still trying to sift through, and dreams you don't understand, and, you know, forced to be compassionate about things and feeling silenced. And I mean, all of these things are exhausting to live in these bodies that we live in, I think. And then what some may perceive as torturous, or yeah, because that was like a torturous to keep her awake. She'd faint, and then they'd splash her with water and she'd wake up again. But that fainting for her, this thing of just like, I can't take it anymore, that giving up becomes a moment of rest to continue to fight again. So it's like honoring her strength, but looking at like how rest looks different based on the bodies you occupy, and freedom means different things in the bodies we occupy, and based on the bodies we occupy and our histories and how we identify and how we're being identified.
Yeah. What does the Wesi in the title refer to?
It's a game we used to play as kids. Wesi, Wema, Kamshen, Wesi, Wema, Kamshen.
And that's the song in the beginning of the song.
Yeah, so like there's this game, the stocking game. I don't know if you guys ever, you know, this like jumping in and out of the stocking, similar to skipping. Yeah, exactly. So that is like a glimpse into childhood, and it's a short-lived childhood as well, that I think at least I feel like I had, and I feel a lot of women in my circle resonate with, and they've reflected that to me too, of just this idea of like, you're born, you leave the prison, and then you have a childhood that's really short-lived, and then you have to become a woman, and you have to just be strong, and you have to start walking, and you have to start walking this path of like femininity in a patriarchal white supremacist world.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned the prison there, because I listened to the album before I read all the notes, and for me, only certain parts said prison. But maybe, Karim, you can unpack the narrative of the entire album.
Oh God.
Because what I'm reading is that it's supposed to be an actual story with a character that leaves prison and then things happen, right?
Yeah, but I think it's not a narrow story in that, you know, it's a timeline, and the character evolves and grows like a person growing up, and you know, I think there are many different ways of understanding, and I mean, I think maybe you can, like what Gugu just did, I think you can somehow say, you know, maybe I'm born and then I lived a short-lived childhood, and then I have to become this adult very quickly and have to take on responsibilities that shouldn't yet be mine and carry all that, you know. But I think they are, at the same time, it's like, I mean, you don't have to necessarily, for instance, feel like the prison is your birth, moment of birth is you coming out of this prison. It could also, the prison can signify various things. And I think what I'm trying to get to is that I think the storyline of the whole album is very broad in a sense. Like, I think, and I remember when Gugu was trying to write it out as like a cohesive storyline, how much work that was, and how much like having to like condense
it or something into like rational thought. It lives outside of speculative time.
And honestly, I mean, I think if anyone can find, I think everyone can find interpretations, but if anyone should be asked about the narrative of the album, it's probably Gugu more than me, to be very honest, because it's quite broad and multifaceted, and it speaks to realities that I don't necessarily, you know, I mean, I think in parts as a human and as someone who's sensitive, you know, you can engage with these things, but it's not necessarily your reality.
But you observe it.
I observe it and I learn from it and I grow with it, but you know, it's not my story to tell. I don't know. But I don't know. I feel like I'm shying away from the question, but it really feels a bit
like, how do you interpret it? I haven't actually ever had this conversation with you, so I like this. Like, how do you interpret the story?
The whole album story.
Yeah. How do you interpret this woman becoming liberated?
I mean, there is like there's this constant underlaying tension of the struggle against this ominous, say, patriarchal energy, like I'm struggling to say male per se, but like I think the systemic weight, and it comes out in different moments, and even with, like, for instance, these snippets from, I think these snippets from the parliament in Dhaka, even though it's a woman speaking, it's also like, it's like these energy mashups of, like, on the one hand, you represent femininity and the softness and the bringing things to life and caring for community and so on. But on the other hand, because of the harshness of the world, you take on a lot of, say, masculine attributes and more like hard, and like, you know, you take on many of those rules that were imposed onto you because you have to, in order to attain certain positions or in order to be heard and seen. And then you kind of regurgitate that, and then you despise yourself for doing that. And then it's like, I don't know, there's so many different layers, and I can't actually, and that's why I never did. And I think I'll never be able to say in a couple of sentences what this album is. And I think it's great that you can. But I've seen the process. It's been a lot of work for you too.
Yeah.
And I'm just,
my life, man. It's my life. It's like, also, I think some things to be said, like, there's the there's a conscious mind that's super limited, and then there's the subconscious mind that's so complex, and it's webs and it's weaves, and it's like, it's just timeless. And I think that you interpret the messaging subconsciously in a very sensitive and supportive way, just by virtue of how you listen and how you respond sonically. And so there's like, also that conversation is definitely happening and informing how the narrative is being delivered and how it's being heard.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, I work with you as my friend and as someone that I engage with on a daily basis, and someone that I learn from a lot, and that I share with a lot. So yeah, when you come with an idea or an energy, quite often I think it's energetic things. It's quite easy for me to pick it up and to transform it into sonic landscapes that your stories can live in somehow.
Yeah.
You're a page. You're my page.
Yeah. I know we're gonna run out of time, so I just want to get the last few questions out. And staying with this idea of a prison, right? The album opens with a very popular struggle song, but with a different take on it. And it reminds me of what you were saying when you were talking about Mama Winnie and erasure. Because usually when that song, Unongongo, is sung, it mentions men who were in the struggle, and you don't mention one man. Instead, you mention Mama Winnie, Mama Makeba, Mama Sisulu, and Mambusi Mhlongo. And all of those people were super powerhouses who, I guess, lived long enough to be erased. So my question is then, do you have a plan of how you are going to ensure that your music still lives on and you are not erased as a woman who created that music?
Do I have a plan?
Does it even matter to you?
I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about like what's next. And I'm really happy that Buffering Juju's there as a portal and as an archive for anyone wanting to engage with what was happening in South Africa in 2019, 2020. People can hear this message that is as collective as it is personal. My plan is to just keep making music and keep processing my individual experiences and keep learning, keep also honoring lives of the women who've done so much for me to be able to be here and, you know, feel like I have access and I have a voice and that I'm being listened to.
I mean, I almost feel like, you know, maybe in a sense, if as a person you decide to speak on certain topics and you decide and commit and you put the work in to create product is not a, to create an offering that is cohesive, that gives people access to certain points of view and realities, maybe you already did your duty. Like maybe you don't have to, on top of that, ensure that that product or that offering on your presence won't be erased. I think that's up to the people that receive it, because it's already so much work and so much commitment and such a big, offering such a big gift, and that I almost feel like it's quite a lot to ask of a person to, not from you per se, but like, you know, as a concept, to like, you know, like live through all that, then make sense of it, then go back into it to create from it, then put that in cohesive form, then find a way to put that out to the people, and then on top of that find a way that can't be taken from you or erased. It's like, at some point you have to let go, I think, and say it's up to the people and to society to either support and grow from these things, or to put them under the carpet.
Yeah.
If they decide to put it under the carpet, then that's that.
Yeah, somehow. Exactly. And it lived now, and it did what it needed to do now, and it touched hearts now, and it moved people now. I mean, I'm a human who's like all humans has FOMO sometimes, has like phobia sometimes, fear of being irrelevant to myself, you know, to my communities. Like I really...
I'm hearing of phobia, so thanks for that.
I came into contact with it recently, and I was like, this is interesting. He's like, yeah, FOMO is now becoming phobia. And that's why everyone just wants to like share and be omnipresent on all the platforms and be heard and be true to themselves and be recognized for being true to themselves. All of these very like human identifiers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with what Karim said. I think it's lived now, it's touched people now, it's done its work now. And if in 25, 30 years, you know, I've been erased from the archives, you know, maybe I was just for the time, but also maybe there's someone who will discover me again later and I'll do something for them.
Yeah. Either way, Mother Time's got it.
Yeah, Mother Time's got my back like chiroprac, man. Like,
all right, last question. So when people think about juju, I think they're gonna obviously think about West Africa, spiritual beliefs, you know?
Yeah.
And then when they think buffering, it's gonna be like, so the spinning wheel of death, like, you know, something that hasn't yet been in completion. How do these two things
spinning wheel of death?
What's that? Like, that's the term for
that's
this
like
thing
the rainbow,
on
the rainbow wheel.
Spinning wheel of death.
Yeah.
Why so intense?
You guys gave me phobia, I gave you spinning wheel of death.
Wow.
So how do the two come together? Why is this album called Buffering Juju?
It's such a simple thing. We didn't know how to name the album. We were like, this is a nameless being. We wanted to call it open-ended and unfixed, and everyone was like, shut up. So we were like, we just couldn't give.
But it's still
name.
In there though.
Yeah, open-ended and unfixed is there.
It's still in the name even.
It's like an endlessness. There's an endlessness.
Yeah.
And it's like things are in a process of loading, of growing, of
constantly.
Yeah.
It's buffering. It's constantly you never reach the 100%.
Yeah. And it's like it's oscillating.
Because your access to the thing is constantly growing. So, you know, like your aspirations constantly keep like making headway.
Yeah.
So even when you reach your 100%, your last week's 100%, you know, there'll be another 15 on top now or whatever. And I think.
And the juju.
And the juju. I have this friend of mine, Dudu, and I'm Gugu, and so it only makes sense. But so Dudu and I have been sisters and collaborators, and we're all like a commune. And she was watching a film, and she was struggling to get it to buffer fully, and then the person she was watching with just pressed play and it worked, and she was like, oh my god, you've got buffering juju, how did you make that happen? And then she told me that concept, and I was like, there's the name, yo, because we're also working with ancient spiritual technologies of sound, of spoken word, of creating portals.
Yeah.
And we're working with ancient instruments in the orchestra and technological glitchy technological glitchy elements. And so it just felt like buffering juju was like the ancient and the new
collision.
Yeah, that collision.
I like that story better.
Yeah.
I like that. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
All right, dumama and kechou, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It has been an absolute pleasure for me to unpack your new album.
Yeah, thank you for having us. This was really intense and fun.
Yeah,
it was both big questions. Like we don't like to think a lot. We like to feel, and we like to just like express and improvise and dance and make music. But like it's nice to, you know, have the space to reflect on it in this way.
Yeah.
Bring a microphone, a cone-shaped microphone in our...
No, this glass that open, magnifying glass.
Oh, magnifying glass. Yeah, that's also what that was.
Wearing.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, like, I'd appreciate some ice cream too the next time I see you. So I will.
Yeah, we will see each other. We will see each other. See you. Virtual ice cream to you and hugs.
Thank you so much for chatting with me, and I will see you soon.
See you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Looking forward to see what you make of this.
I hope to see what I make of this too. I don't know yet. We're gonna see.
Good luck.
Good luck. And one more question for you.
Yes.
Are you what's your plan to make sure that your voice doesn't get erased as a creator of narratives and a walking archive?
You know what? Like, that's been such a huge boulder for me, because I've seen it happen with all the women that came before me, all the amazing music journalists that I look up to that no one remembers anymore. And those people aren't dead. Like, they weren't alive in the 50s. They were like writing in 2001, you know? So I've been trying to figure out, like, how do I make sure that the work stays and that I stay and all of that? But what you guys were saying made me feel like, oh, so maybe I'm adding an extra burden, like the burden of being Black, the burden of being a Black woman creative. And now also I have to reteach people that I am important. So the short answer is I don't know anymore.
Yeah. And that's okay. That is fine.
Yeah.
You're doing what you're doing now, and that's more than enough.
Yeah. Okay, well, big questions have come to an end now.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Thanks again.
You too. Bye.
In the future.